In the realm of American politics, few figures command as much attention and controversy as former President Donald Trump. As he embarks on a second term, the implications of his policies are already sending ripples through various sectors, particularly in economic and educational spheres. Recently, Trump has made headlines for his executive orders targeting the Public Service Loan Forgiveness (PSLF) program, a move that has sparked significant debate over its potential impact on borrowers and the broader economy. On March 8, 2025, Trump signed an executive order that restricts eligibility for the PSLF program, which was originally intended to alleviate student loan burdens for individuals working in public service roles, including those in nonprofit organizations. This program, established by President George W. Bush in 2007, allows for the forgiveness of remaining student loan balances after 10 years of qualifying payments. However, Trump's new directive aims to exclude employees of nonprofits engaged in what his administration describes as law-breaking activities. Will Scharf, the White House staff secretary, elaborated on this decision, stating, "A lot of these people work for NGO organizations that engage in illegal or what we would consider to be improper activities," highlighting concerns about those involved in illegal immigration and foreign terrorist organizations. The ramifications of this policy change are significant, as it could affect thousands of individuals who have dedicated their careers to public service. Critics argue that this move not only undermines the original intent of the PSLF program but also disproportionately impacts those who choose to work in fields that serve marginalized communities. As the policy unfolds, many are left to ponder the long-term implications for student loan borrowers and the public service sector. In the economic arena, Trump's recent actions also include a controversial approach to trade, particularly regarding tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico. Following a brief pause on tariffs, which had sent markets into a tailspin, Trump defended his administration's strategy, characterizing it as a necessary measure to protect American interests. During a recent cryptocurrency summit at the White House, he reiterated his commitment to imposing tariffs, stating, "Look, our country has been ripped off for many decades and we're not going to be ripped off anymore on the tariffs." This stance has raised concerns among economists who warn that such tariffs could lead to increased prices for consumers and exacerbate inflationary pressures. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has publicly dismissed concerns of an impending recession, asserting that Trump's administration is on the cusp of unleashing unprecedented economic growth. "There's going to be no recession in America," Lutnick claimed during an interview, emphasizing the administration's focus on negotiating lower tariffs with foreign nations. However, skepticism remains, particularly as grocery prices are expected to rise due to the anticipated tariffs on foreign goods. As Trump navigates these turbulent waters, he is also keenly aware of the political landscape. His recent push for a short-term funding bill reflects his drive to unify Republican support amid rising tensions with Democrats. In a post on his social media platform, he urged, "All Republicans should vote, please. Yes, next week." This call for unity comes at a crucial time as his administration seeks to solidify its stance on various policy fronts. The interplay between Trump's economic policies and his executive actions on education is indicative of a broader strategy to reshape the Republican Party's identity. Political analysts suggest that Trump's moves signal a departure from traditional Republican values, which often emphasized fiscal conservatism and limited government intervention. Instead, his administration appears to be adopting a more populist approach, resonating with a base that values direct action and decisive leadership. As the second term progresses, the consequences of these policies will likely unfold in complex ways, impacting not only the lives of borrowers and consumers but also the political landscape as a whole. The potential for backlash against these moves could galvanize opposition groups and fuel further debates on the efficacy of Trump's governance. In conclusion, as Trump continues to wield considerable influence over both economic and educational policy, the nation watches closely. The long-term effects of his decisions remain uncertain, but it is clear that his administration's approach will shape the contours of American politics for years to come. As the 2025 landscape evolves, stakeholders from various sectors will need to adapt to the shifting paradigms that come with a Trump-led agenda, marking a significant chapter in the ongoing saga of American governance, in a move that has sparked significant debate online. Former President Donald Trump recently reposted an article on his Truth Social account titled, "Shut Up About Egg Prices, Trump is Saving Consumers Millions." The article, authored by conservative activist Charlie Kirk, attributes the soaring prices of eggs to the Biden administration's policies and a bird flu outbreak, while asserting that Trump's administration is working to alleviate the situation. This repost comes just 6 weeks into Trump's new term and has ignited a flurry of reactions from both supporters and critics alike. Kirk's article emphasizes the challenges of reversing economic trends, stating, "Reversing 4 years of economic malpractice will take time to reverse, but the building blocks of America's next great low-inflation, high-wage growth boom have already been laid, and soon enough so too will the eggs." Such sentiments echo Trump's campaign promises to lower consumer prices swiftly, which he proclaimed during his rallies. In one instance, he declared, "When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one." However, critics were quick to point out the striking contrast between Trump's past promises and his current stance. Social media erupted with comments highlighting this inconsistency. One user remarked, "From I'm going to make eggs cheaper to shut up about egg prices in 6 goddamn weeks," reflecting the frustration shared by many. Another noted the irony of Trump, who was often seen playing golf during weekends, telling Americans to refrain from discussing food prices, further criticizing his disengagement from pressing economic issues. The backlash against Trump's repost has underscored a broader concern among the public regarding transparency and accountability. Many argue that dismissing consumer concerns about rising food prices is not just tone-deaf but also indicative of a deeper disconnect between the administration and the everyday experiences of Americans facing economic challenges. In a parallel development, Trump has also been vocal in responding to criticisms surrounding a new book by author Michael Wolff, who has previously gained notoriety for his unflattering portrayals of Trump in works like Fire and Fury. In a recent Truth Social post, Trump labeled Wolff's new book a total fake job, suggesting that it lacked credibility and was filled with inaccuracies. Wolff in turn responded by welcoming Trump's comments, asserting that the narrative he presents in his book revolves around the significant stakes of the current political landscape, whether Trump or the establishment will prevail. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the interplay between public sentiment and the administration's responses will be crucial in shaping future narratives. With economic issues like inflation and food prices at the forefront, how Trump and his team choose to engage with these challenges could significantly influence public perception and political viability going forward. As the situation unfolds, both supporters and critics will be watching closely to see how these dynamics play out in the months ahead. In a dramatic cabinet room meeting that underscored the tensions within President Donald Trump's administration, Elon Musk found himself in a heated exchange with Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The billionaire entrepreneur, known for his ambitious initiatives aimed at reshaping government efficiency, faced significant pushback from key members of the cabinet who expressed frustration with his aggressive tactics and lack of coordination. The meeting, which took place on March 7, 2025, was a pivotal moment for the Trump administration, revealing the growing concerns among officials about Musk's unchecked influence. Rubio, visibly incensed, confronted Musk over his previous accusations that the State Department had not enacted sufficient personnel cuts. "You have fired nobody," Musk chastised, indicating a belief that the agency was bloated. Rubio countered by highlighting the early retirement of over 1,500 State Department officials, sarcastically questioning whether Musk wanted him to rehire them merely to appease his narrative. The clash escalated as Musk dismissed Rubio's credentials, remarking that while Rubio was good on TV, he was not effective in managing his department. This exchange drew the attention of President Trump, who intervened to defend Rubio, insisting that everyone needed to work together to achieve the administration's goals. Trump's efforts to mediate were seen as a sign that he was beginning to recognize the need to rein in Musk, whose initiatives have sparked legal challenges and discontent among Republican lawmakers. Participants in the meeting noted that while cabinet officials largely supported Musk's overarching goal of reducing waste and inefficiency in government, they were increasingly frustrated by his chainsaw approach, which lacked a coherent strategy. Trump's willingness to assert the authority of his cabinet secretaries, stating that they would be in charge moving forward while Musk's team would serve only in an advisory capacity, marked a notable shift in the administration's dynamics. The fallout from the meeting quickly reverberated through the White House and beyond, with reports of Musk's confrontational style catching many officials off guard. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, absent from the meeting, has also experienced tensions related to Musk's agenda, further complicating the administration's cohesion. In a subsequent social media post, Trump characterized the meeting as a productive discussion, but the underlying discord was evident. Musk defended his approach, highlighting his success in managing multiple billion-dollar companies and asserting that his track record spoke for itself. However, the meeting's contentious atmosphere left many cabinet members hesitant to engage further, as Musk's caustic remarks seemed to intimidate them. The discussion around personnel cuts also raised significant concerns, particularly from Secretary of Veterans Affairs Doug Collins, who warned against a blunt approach that could negatively impact veterans, an essential constituency for Trump. Despite the tensions, some officials expressed optimism about the potential for a more refined approach to government efficiency. In a statement following the meeting, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt emphasized the collaborative nature of the discussions, while other cabinet members echoed the sentiment that the administration was united in its goal of enhancing government effectiveness. As the Trump administration continues to grapple with the implications of Musk's initiatives, it remains to be seen how the dynamics within the cabinet will evolve. With Musk still serving as a key financial supporter for Trump's political endeavors, including a recent $1 million advertisement campaign thanking the president, the relationship between Musk and the administration will likely remain both pivotal and precarious. Looking ahead, the administration's next steps will be crucial in determining whether it can strike a balance between Musk's ambitious vision and the practical realities of governing. As Trump's second term unfolds, the need for effective collaboration and strategic planning will be paramount if the administration hopes to navigate the complexities of federal bureaucracy and fulfill its promises to the American public. In a time marked by economic uncertainty, President Donald Trump's administration is grappling with the complexities of a fluctuating economy heavily influenced by his on-again, off-again tariff policies. As Trump prepares to implement significant tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, experts and union leaders alike are weighing in on the potential ramifications, with warnings of a possible recession looming on the horizon. During a recent interview on Fox News' Sunday Morning Futures, Trump acknowledged that the U.S. might face a recession this year, stating, "I hate to predict things like that." He attributed the economic turbulence to a period of transition as his administration rolls out its economic agenda, which prominently features tariffs. Trump noted, "What we're doing is very big, indicating that these changes would take time to manifest fully in the economic landscape." The president's remarks come as economists have raised concerns about his policies being a key risk to economic stability. The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta's latest projections indicate a potential contraction in the U.S. economic output, estimating a dramatic annualized decline of 2.4% for the first quarter of 2025. This bleak outlook is mirrored in the stock market, which recently experienced its worst week in 6 months, driven by fears surrounding Trump's tariffs. Companies like Nvidia and Tesla suffered considerable losses, reflecting investor anxiety over the future direction of the economy. As the situation unfolds, Trump is poised to introduce additional tariffs, particularly on steel and aluminum, which will take effect shortly. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick confirmed that reciprocal tariffs, where the U.S. would match the import taxes imposed by other countries, are set to commence on April 2. This unpredictability has left many in the business community apprehensive, with Trump himself admitting the tariffs could go up as time goes by, indicating that the administration's approach remains fluid. Union leaders have expressed mixed feelings about these aggressive economic strategies. Shawn Fain, president of the United Auto Workers UAW, defended the tariffs as vital to stop the bleeding of American jobs, calling the current economic situation a crisis mode. Fain asserted that the United States has lost millions of jobs since the implementation of the North American Free Trade Agreement (NAFTA) in 1994. Which he criticized as detrimental to American workers. He described the current economic approach as a necessary step to reform a broken trade system, emphasizing that tariffs are not the ultimate solution but rather a critical tool in a larger strategy to protect American interests. The administration's stance on tariffs has sparked further debate about their long-term effects on consumer prices. While Trump has downplayed concerns about rising costs, suggesting that the stock market fluctuations are not a reliable indicator of the economy's health, critics warned that increased tariffs could lead to higher prices for everyday goods. Retail giants like Best Buy and Target have already hinted at potential price hikes as a direct result of these tariffs. Despite the uncertainty, some administration officials, including Lutnick, have downplayed recession fears, arguing that Trump's policies are aimed at fostering economic growth. There's going to be no recession in America, Lutnick declared on a recent broadcast, asserting confidence in the president's strategy. As the administration continues to navigate this tumultuous economic landscape, the coming weeks will be critical in determining whether Trump's tariff policies can achieve their intended outcomes or if they will exacerbate existing economic challenges. The balance between protecting American jobs and maintaining a stable economic environment remains a delicate and contentious issue, one that will likely shape the discourse leading up to the next election cycle. With tariffs set to take effect soon, all eyes will be on the administration's next moves and their implications for the broader economy. In a striking turn of political dialogue, billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk has called for the United States to withdraw from NATO, questioning the rationale behind American financial contributions to Europe's defense. His comments, made on his social media platform X, reflect a growing skepticism towards long-standing international alliances and have reignited debates about U.S. foreign policy. Musk's remarks came in response to a provocative post by a conservative commentator advocating for an immediate exit from NATO, to which Musk replied, "We really should." This sentiment echoes previous statements he made earlier this month, where he expressed agreement with calls to exit both NATO and the United Nations. As NATO approaches its 76th anniversary, Musk's assertion adds to the mounting uncertainty surrounding the organization's future, particularly as the U.S. has been a cornerstone of its military alliance. The implications of Musk's statements are significant, especially in the context of recent discussions among U.S. officials regarding NATO. Reports indicate that President Donald Trump has been contemplating a recalibration of U.S. engagement with NATO, particularly advocating for a system where only those member nations that meet certain defense spending commitments would receive American military support. It's common sense, right? Trump stated, emphasizing that allies who do not pay their bills would not be defended by the United States. This evolving narrative is particularly relevant given Europe's historical reliance on U.S. military support, especially in the wake of the Cold War, when many European nations disarmed. With European Union leaders recently convening to discuss increasing defense budgets in light of U.S. uncertainties, the urgency of Musk's remarks resonates with European policymakers who fear faltering defenses without American backing. EU Defense Commissioner Andrius Kubilius articulated this concern, noting that quite turbulent development in U.S. strategy and its potential impact on European security. Compounding this situation, the U.S. faces legal and procedural hurdles regarding withdrawal from NATO. A 2023 law stipulates that a president cannot unilaterally exit the alliance without a two-thirds supermajority in the Senate or an act of Congress. This presents a formidable barrier to Musk's and Trump's aspirations, despite the growing sentiment within certain political factions advocating for reduced international commitments. As these discussions unfold, the potential for a significant shift in U.S. foreign policy looms large. The interplay between Musk's influential voice in tech and politics, Trump's administration's military and diplomatic strategies, and the European Union's response will shape the future of NATO and international alliances. With global security dynamics continually shifting, the coming months will be critical in determining not only the fate of NATO but also how the U.S. navigates its role on the world stage. As debates intensify, both supporters and critics of Musk's proposals will be watching closely, with the outcomes likely to resonate across geopolitical landscapes for years to come. In the early weeks of his new term, President Donald Trump is making his approach to diplomacy unmistakably clear. It mirrors the high-stakes world of business deals. With a transactional ethos at the forefront, his primary objective appears to be emerging from negotiations as the clear victor. This philosophy is evident in his escalating trade tensions with Canada and Mexico, his handling of the conflict in Ukraine, and even in his choice of Saudi Arabia for his first international visit. President Trump approaches diplomacy and engages in a very transactional manner. With economics as the foundation and driving force behind international affairs, noted retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, who serves as Trump's special envoy to Ukraine and Russia. This approach emphasizes leverage over friendship, prioritizing financial gains alongside national values and favoring hard power over soft. Trump's style of diplomacy signals a significant shift in the post-World War II international order and raises questions about American leadership on the global stage. By steering foreign policy towards a more insular perspective, he has expressed skepticism towards the effectiveness of traditional American soft power mechanisms such as the U.S. Agency for International Development. He has even suggested a reluctance to defend NATO allies who fail to meet their defense spending obligations, further underlining his focus on economic considerations. Historians like Edward Franz from the University of Indianapolis have noted that while transactional politics are not new, Trump's approach takes this to an unprecedented level. Franz likened Trump's mindset to that of legendary football coach Vince Lombardi, who famously stated, "Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing." Yet in the complex realm of international relations, Franz argued diplomacy might be more like soccer. Sometimes you just need a tie. Sometimes you need to just survive and move on. In a striking example of his transactional mindset, Trump recently declared that his first international visit would be to Saudi Arabia, citing a significant investment commitment from the kingdom. "I said I'll go if you pay $1 trillion to American companies," Trump stated, referring to a previous promise from Saudi Arabia to invest $450 billion during his first term. This prioritization of financial incentives over traditional diplomatic protocols reflects a broader trend in Trump's foreign policy. Trump's dealings with key leaders have also revealed his focus on leverage. In discussions with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin, Trump has repeatedly underscored the notion that Putin holds the cards in this geopolitical game. Following a contentious meeting with Zelensky, Trump expressed frustration over what he deemed a lack of gratitude for U.S. support, suggesting that negotiations with Russia might prove less challenging due to their perceived advantage. This pivot toward Moscow represents a stark departure from decades of U.S. diplomatic skepticism toward Russia. While previous administrations have sought resets in relations with the Kremlin, Trump's approach has been notably different. He has halted military aid to Ukraine and paused offensive cyber operations against Russia, actions that could signal a more conciliatory stance toward Putin. Kellogg recalled how Trump's focus on trade was apparent even in initial meetings with foreign leaders. "What is the trade imbalance between our two nations?" was often his first question. This fixation on trade has recently manifested in Trump's announcement of tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico as he attempts to recalibrate what he views as an unfair economic balance. The administration insists that these tariffs aim to combat fentanyl smuggling, although Trump has also suggested they are a means to address trade deficits. The Canadian response has been defiant, with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau asserting that his country will not yield to Trump's pressure. Trudeau, who has been publicly belittled by Trump, remarked on the absurdity of the trade dispute, even quoting the conservative Wall Street Journal to emphasize the unnecessary nature of the conflict. As Trump continues to navigate the complexities of international relations through a transactional lens, the implications for U.S. foreign policy remain significant. With his administration's focus on economic leverage, the future of America's role on the global stage could see a fundamental shift, one that prioritizes financial interests over long-standing alliances and diplomatic norms. Observers are left to ponder how this will reshape international relations in the years to come, as Trump's approach challenges the conventional wisdom that has guided diplomacy for decades.